Commission on Elections Chairman Andres Bautista's wife accuses him of having nearly 1 billion pesos worth of unexplained wealth. Bautista denies the accusation, saying it is an extortion attempt. Patricia Paz Bautista, in an affidavit submitted last August 1 to the National Bureau of Investigation, said she discovered information showing the COMELEC chief, quote, might have had or currently has misleading and corrupt practices while in government service. A Philippine Daily Inquirer report says Mrs. Bautista submitted the affidavit after meeting with President Rodrigo Duterte in Malacanang. Bautista reported a net worth of 176.3 million pesos in his 2016 Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth. But in her affidavit, Mrs. Bautista said she discovered a number of assets that were not listed in his SAL-N, including 2 peso passbook accounts, 2 foreign currency accounts, condominium units in Bonifacio Global City, Taguig, and in San Francisco in the U.S. Mrs. Bautista also said she was not aware of 13 other properties in the COMELEC chief's SAL-N, saying she had no hand in purchasing these properties. She also said her husband has investments abroad in the form of his interests in corporations and loan agreements not included in his SAL-N. These include offshore companies established in the British Virgin Islands, Brunei, and Anguilla. In her affidavit, Mrs. Bautista said she confronted her husband about it, but he denied involvement in the companies. Presidential spokesman Ernesto Abella says President Rodrigo Duterte asked lawmakers to approve the recruiting of 20,000 more soldiers to tackle increased security threats following the bloody Marawi clashes. Abella says, quote, the deployment of troops to Marawi and other points in Mindanao needs to be rebalanced to ensure maximum effectiveness. The Philippine military numbers about 125,000 and faces numerous threats, including the ISIS-inspired militants in Mindanao, communist guerrillas scattered all over the archipelago, and territorial disputes with China in the West Philippine Sea. In a trip to Marawi last week, Duterte asked Congress for the funding of 20,000 additional troops, but did not specify how much he needed. Almost 700 people have been killed in over 2 months of fighting in Marawi City against homegrown terrorists who pledged allegiance to ISIS. China on Sunday warns Association of Southeast Asian Nations against outside parties and drafting a code of conduct in the disputed South China Sea. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi says ASEAN and China will jointly announce the official start of the COC consultations in November, only when the situation in the South China Sea is generally stable and if there is no major disruption from outside parties. This is in apparent reference to the United States, which China repeatedly criticized for interference in the South China Sea disputes. Wang makes the remarks after he and ASEAN foreign ministers adopted the framework of a COC in the South China Sea Sunday. The foreign ministers of ASEAN and China also agreed to pursue a 3-step initiative toward an actual COC. Wang says it was China that proposed this 3-step initiative. The proposed COC is an agreement to ensure peace and stability in the South China Sea, parts of which the Philippines claims as the West Philippine Sea.